Former British Prime Minister Gordon Brown says there is no solution to the European debt crisis within the existing euro structure. Writing in the International Herald Tribune, Brown says, quote, either the euro has to be fundamentally reformed by Europe's political leaders and the European Central Bank, or it will collapse. After the events of the last few days, I know for sure there is not even a chance of a middle way. We're back now with Bloomberg contributing editor David Blanchflower, an economist at Dartmouth and a former member of the Bank of England's Monetary Policy Committee. David, but finding a middle way is exactly what Sarkozy and Merkel are trying to do today. Find a way to leverage perhaps the entire $13 trillion continental economy. I mean, how do they do that? How do they stop the bleeding?
Well, I think Gordon's probably right. I think it's now too late. They had the opportunity 18 months ago. I mean, the statement they're going to make today, they've got to say something. I mean, they're not going to produce euro bonds, but I mean, if you think of what does this all mean, it means there's a great phrase in Britain: is the eurozone, is the EU fit for purpose? And it really doesn't look that it is, and they're not going to be able to do a quick fix. So you have to then start to think, well, what are the possibilities? Well, it's a Great Depression too. It's a country withdrawing. There's actually interesting evidence that all OECD countries that have their own independent central banks have seen falling bond yields, not rising ones. So I think what we've now generated are alternatives that really weren't on the table a while ago, because they have fiddled while Rome and Paris and other places burnt, if you like. We're now going to see some sort of cataclysmic breakup. The things we did in 2008, they've now been reversed, and we're going to pay the consequences of this ineptness. I just think it's terrible ineptness.
So the ECB spending, what, $30 billion to try to control cash yields? That's limited. You don't think they can do that again?
Well, there has to be some major moves forward. The Germans don't seem to want to do that. But let's go back to what the ECB did. You and I talked about the fact that twice this year they actually raised rates. So the ECB, in a sense, as Gordon says, this doesn't look like an institution fit for purpose. Where's the problem of inflation? It's about liquidity, it's about banks, it's about, sovereign debt, it's about all kinds of stuff. So these institutions, Paul de Graw said it well. This is the economics of the Maginot Line. They have to throw those institutions away and start over. But it's too late. They're not going to achieve anything in time because Europe moves but slowly. And so I think that breakup, I mean, we just have to now start to think about, how does it break up? It can't survive in the long term. The question is, can it survive weeks? Can it survive days? Can it survive months? And the worrying thing is it may not.
But Europe moves slowly, but markets move faster than people can think here. I mean, we saw short-selling bans there across the continent last week. That's going to push their hand to do something. You've got Gordon Brown himself saying, hey, the Chinese and the Americans have to do a little nudging here as well.
Well, I think the best analogy is Pandora's box. You push down on the lid, you push down on it, and then you opened it and you said, oh, the fixes of short selling. The ultimate problem here through all of this is we haven't dealt with the underlying problems in these countries of Greece and elsewhere, that we have to have structures that are competitive, and we have to have a plan for growth. We've seen no plan for growth, and that's what's driving things here. The UK is in this same situation. A chancellor saying he's been vindicated as its ranking drops from whatever is fourth in the rankings to, I mean, I just looked at growth over the last 3 quarters. The UK ranks 19 out of 20 countries, just ahead of Portugal. So it's growth, it's strategies for reform, and these aren't going to come quickly. If you have no growth strategy and you're destroying growth with austerity, you're stuck in a hole.
Well, Gordon Brown in that same op-ed also makes the point that perhaps we're all mischaracterizing this by even calling this a fiscal crisis. But he lays out his plans. He says you've got to recapitalize the banks in Europe. You have to wholly reform the euro. You have to coordinate monetary and fiscal policy. You got to transfer a fiscal responsibility to rich from poor nations, and have a European debt facility. I mean, it took us 2 years to get to the point we're at now. Is any of what he's suggesting possible?
Well, the answer is, they'll have it all done by Tuesday. Not. Obviously, those things, not. I mean, those things are what they're going to have to do. But given that they haven't done them, and we keep saying the same things over, I just think we have to look now at almost total collapse. And the question is, can they avoid now a European Great Depression too? And as each day goes by, it looks less like it. And as growth in the Eurozone falls, so does the world economy, so's the US impacted. The UK is being pulled down. It can't export to the Eurozone as the Eurozone slows. So these people saying austerity is everything, we can't bail out, have missed the plot. But if they could have done this a year and a half ago, there was some hope. So we're literally simply saying, this thing is over. We're just watching the death throes.
David, you're not giving us much hope for what we're going to hear in the 12 p.m. hour here in the U.S. from that presser, but it's always good talking to you.
Well, trying to be realistic. I mean, the problem is the politicians have not been realistic,
right.
And that's not been credible.
No, fair point. Thank you very much, David Blanchflower.